Hey, what's up guys? My name is Naam. So in today's video, I'm gonna do a deeper dive on hazardous pay. And yes, I'm wearing scrubs because I feel like it's just only right. So I have made videos like this in the past, how there was a proposal for a $25,000 incentive, and most recently inside of the HEROES Act, which was a $10,000 bonus for essential workers. But the real question is, whatever happened to these proposals and bills? So that's what you guys are gonna learn in today's video. If you guys are new here, welcome. Here on this channel, I typically talk about personal finance, but recently I've been covering more information about stimulus, unemployment, and everything that's going on in the world right now. So today I'm gonna be going over what is the current status of hazard pay, how some states are taking matters into their own hands, and what are my own views and the likelihood if ever we're gonna see hazardous pay. Alright, so now let's move on to my first point. So ever since there was proposals that came out for bonuses for essential workers, nothing really ever came out of them, but there has been a few states that took matters inside of their own hands. Most recently, the state of Vermont, they're gonna give eligible applicants up to $2,000, but there is a catch. Many essential workers will be left out. So in Vermont, the governor Phil Scott, he announced that starting on Tuesday, August 4th, public safety, public health, healthcare, and human service employers who employees work to help mitigate or respond to COVID-19 may apply for hazard pay grants for their employees. Meaning that the employers, the companies that the people are working for, are the ones that would have to apply for these grants and then disperse it to their employees. So I'm really hoping that anyone who lives in Vermont and they're one of these essential workers that qualifies for this grant, make sure you nag to your boss to make sure that they apply. Since this is not money coming from their pocket, it's coming from the state's funds. As you were, not necessarily coming from the state, it's actually coming from the CARES Act, which was a stimulus bill that was passed back in March. State and local governments, they did receive funds as part of that bill, but when it's all said and done, Vermont is going to spend around $28 million in federal money to give to essential workers. So for any individual who lives in Vermont or worked during March 13th all the way to May 15th would be eligible to apply. But here comes the sweet part. Employers who qualify for this funding, they may get $1,200 or $2,000 in hazard pay for each employee who meets this criteria. So some of the criteria includes risk to exposure to COVID-19, number of hours worked, and employees' hourly wage. But to go in a little bit more detail, workers must make less than $25 an hour and work at least 216 hours on the job to receive up to $2,000, and anyone who worked at least 68 hours can receive up to $1,200. So to name a few jobs that were eligible for hazardous pay, for people who are working in ambulance service or first responders, assisted living facilities, dental offices, homeless shelters, morgues, nursing homes, and therapy providers. I understand that Vermont set aside $28 million of state funding for essential workers, and it's pretty awesome since there's not that many states out there or employers that actually provides hazard pay. I wish that more states would do something like this. I really wouldn't expect employers to do it themselves just because of how the current economy is actually going, so I'm not really sure if they could have more expenses. So for some employers that are actually booming right now, which are in the online retail industry, such as Amazon, food delivery, or any other industry right now that actually is getting a lot of growth, very few of them provide actually any sort of bonus. But what I don't get is why do people care what other people make and why others are getting paid or getting extra pay because they're working during the pandemic. The majority of people who are mad are just people who are not receiving any or just jealous because their occupation is not deemed essential. Me, I'm a registered nurse. I work in hospitals, I had my encounters with COVID patients, and I did my job. I didn't get asked to pay more, but if they want to pay me more, will I take it? Hell yeah, I would. I'm pretty sure anyone in the right mind would take the bonus as well. So just last month, Louisiana was offering $250 in hazard pay for essential workers. But when the applications became live, the site crashed. So as soon as the site went live, by 7 a.m., more than 14,000 applicants have applied, and that's when the website crashed. But actually, in Louisiana, they were a little bit more generous than they were in Vermont. Louisiana had a $50 million program that gave money to grocery store employees, nurses, bus drivers, and other workers that stayed on the job during the early days of the pandemic. But of course, probably more people received hazardous pay, but it was just a smaller amount. So these were some of the few states that were taking hazardous pay into their own hands. But now let's move on to my next topic. Will hazardous pay be included in the next coronavirus relief bill? And the short answer is no, but let me tell you why. As soon as the HEROES Act was passed, it was quickly shot down by the Senate, which is ran by the Republicans. With the most recent coronavirus relief package negotiations, hazardous pay is not one of the key negotiation points. The topics for discussion mainly revolves around unemployment benefits, which is the extra $600 a week boost to state unemployment benefits, and also expanded eviction moratoriums. But as much as we know right now, there has been little talk about hazardous pay. So in my own personal opinion, I don't believe that hazardous pay will be included in the next coronavirus relief bill, just due to the fact that Republicans are already being stingy with extending unemployment benefits, so I don't think they want to pay someone who's already working. So for me, honestly, I would think it would be kind of nice to provide some sort of hazardous pay, but I highly doubt anything would happen. So I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant right now, since I do get kind of pissed off sometimes when I get comments from people saying that, why should you get paid more for doing your job? Like honestly, I do get where they're coming from, but who am I gonna be the judge of that? Like when I was deployed overseas, I did receive hazardous pay. I didn't ask for it, but it was nice. The thing is that I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew that there was a high probability that I was gonna deploy, since at that time, more and more troops were going to Afghanistan. Because that was kind of like the main reasons of why I signed up. Because I wanted to do something that had some sort of purpose rather than just staying at home after graduating from high school and really not doing much with my life. But that's for another story. The thing where I think people go wrong is that when people think that they need to get hazardous pay for them to continue the job. And don't get me wrong, there are jobs out there that are extremely dangerous where you can seriously get injured or possibly die doing your job. But a lot of jobs out there, they do incentivize workers quite a bit for them to do the work. So it doesn't really matter what is my stance on hazardous pay, but there has been studies and research that shown that if you pay somebody more, they tend to do a better job. And when somebody does a better job, in turn your company sells more and they make more money. Why do you think that some people who work at major corporations get high bonuses at the end of the year? Probably the key reasons is that they made a difference for the company and somehow they made the company more money. But what I do think is that if a company is still going strong during this pandemic, and if they're making more money than they were previously, I would think that would be kind of nice of them to offer some type of incentive to their employees. Morale of companies does make a hell of a difference on how it performs. But that was pretty much my 2 cents. You guys really don't have to agree with me if you don't want to. I probably will get more hate in the comments, but that's totally cool, whatever. But if you guys do want to hang out with me some more, check out my videos over here.